So tens of thousands. So what's important to understand is that at the level of Chokmah, which is called Atzilus, there's the grade of 10,000. And they're called 10,000 in truth because they refer to 10,000 Sefirot. So a C is 1 through 10, and then Yetzirah is 10 to 100, and then Beriah is 100 to 1,000, and then Atzilus is 10,000. So all the Sefirot in Atzilus is said to be in the grades of 10,000. And what's amazing about this is that there are 11 Sefirot, as we know, to Atzilus. That includes Da'as on the side of Kedusha. And collectively, 10 times 11 is 110. So there are 110,000 hairs. These 110,000 hairs actually equal the amount of hairs that we have on the human head, where science says that the human head has in between 100 and 120,000 hairs, or roughly 110,000 hairs. And this is because each of the 11 Sephiros at Chokmah's grade of Atzilus has 10,000. And so our hair mirrors this exact length, this number of hairs. So tens of thousands of locks of hairs are hanging, which are black, entangled, and intertwined in each other. Since they are twined with the supernal light that adorns his head from Abba, and from his brain that shines from the light of Abba, then many tiny hairs come out of the light and adorn his head from Ima, and from the other brain lobes, all connected and entangled in the hairs that hold to Abba, because they are disheveled and entangled in each other. So the hairs of the Atik are called white as wool, and the hair of Zerainpin is coarse, rough, black, and entangled. When it says first that it shines from the light of Abba, this is one type of hair. And when it's from Ima, it's another type of hair. So we learn from this that there are actually three kinds of hair. So we find that in our when we get older, our hair turns white. No matter what color your hair was born with, in old age, in Sabah, or elderly or Zaken, when you're elder, it turns white. Then hair on the left column is brown or black. And then hair in the center is blonde. So we find that the three columns, which are right, left, and center, white, yellow, and a brown that comes from red, is the secret of the color of the hair as well. These hairs become entangled at the level of Zerainpin, and so black symbolic of the mixing of all colors. Furthermore, they're said to be entangled. That is to say that the qualities are entangled as well, and this is the secret of his hair is black like a raven. The word raven in Hebrew is the same as the word Erev. It's spelled Ayin Resh Beis. It's the same letters as evening, and also like the word Erev Rav, mixed multitude. All the brain lobes are attached to the skull, which is the supernal brain. So that is to say, all of the brain lobes, that is to say, Chokmah and Bina, which are called brain lobes, and the pineal gland, an example Da'as, are attached to the skull, which is Keter. And Keter is considered a brain unto itself. And this is also why Mashiach is the secret of Yesh Moach, substance of the brain, because he's actually rooted in the supernal brain. And all the hairs flow from the three cavities of the brain, that is to say, from Chokmah, Bina, and Da'as, which are called the three cavities of the brain, that are attached to the supernal brain lobes, that is to say, Keter, and are intermixed in purity and impurity, that is to say, when they spread like the Chasadim Gevros, right and left, which are the laws of purity and logic behind the warnings concerning impurity. In all those laws and mysteries, the hidden and the disclosed, for that reason, all brain lobes are indicated in I am Hashem, your Elohim. This is because I is Ani, that is to say, Malkut. Hashem, your Elohim, comes to include the two brain lobes of Abba and Ima. So when it says I am Hashem, your Elohim, which is Be'anoki Hashem Elohecha, it comes to include all three parts of the brain. They are the secret of the 248 positive, which is to say that quality called Hashem, which is the right side, from which it's written that the beginning of wisdom, Reshis Chokmah, is Yirat Hashem, the fear of Hashem. So Yud-Ke Vav-Ke is the quality corresponding to Chokmah. This corresponds to the right side, which are the 248 positive commandments. These are the bones. It's also been explained to you all how the name Yud Kei Vav Kei is the shirosh, or root, of the skeletal structure, which is to say the chokmah of the guf, because in the guf, chokmah is the skeleton, which we say there are 248 bones, and the root of these matters is to be found in the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. The 365 negative precepts, which is to be found in the name Elokim, or Elohecha, which is a hint to this, is included in that verse, which are arranged as they shine in the head part. That is to say that the 248 and the 365 shine in the head, which is Keter, which is YIRAH. The reason why, in all of the images that I share, when talking about the Chasadim and Gevuros, and I'll give you an example of this, now that we merit to go into have a little bit of a deeper conversation here, we'll send a picture in. You will find that the name YIRAH is always in the personification in the aspect of Keter. It's always to be found in the aspect of Keter. And there's two reasons for this. Because when YIRAH is spelt with a Tav, and it's called Yaris Hashem Reishis Chokmah, so Reishis Chokmah Yirat Hashem, the beginning of Chokmah, Reishis Chokmah, is Keter. And Keter is Yirat, because Yirat is a numerical value of the word Torah. 611. Furthermore, Be'yirat, in awe, is a numerical value of 613. And so Keter, why is it called Be'yirat in Yirah, which is talked about in Tikkunei ZOHAR, is because it should not be read as in Yirah, that is to say in awe, but rather it should be read as with Yirah, because the letter Beit can also denote the term with, not just in, with Yirah, which this completely changes the context. And this is also found in Bereshis, because the saruf of this is Shev, the dwelling place of Yirah, but it also has Beit Yirat, which has a value of 613. Because with Yirat, which is called the supernal sun, or the supernal craftsman, the king above, which is also the secret of the Shekinah, which is called Yirah, it divides itself into these 248 and 365 aspects, because the word Yirat is a numerical value of the word Torah, and it divides itself in between these aspects. So, they are arranged as they shine in the head part, that is in the 4 brain lobes in the skull. That is to say, that is the illumination of Keter, Chokmah, Bina, and Das. And their illumination enters the 3 cavities of the skull inside the head. This is the aspect of Da'as, and the 3 cavities hint to the 3 columns within Da'as, right, left, and center. All the locks of black hair hang on the head, cover the ears. And the reason why they cover the ears is because Netzach and Hod are beneath the sphere of Tiferet. And these hairs hang from Chesed and Gevurah and Tiferet, which is also accustomed as the beard. For Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet of the Atik form the beard. And the hair of the beard is not like the hair of the head. For if you feel the hair of the head, you'll find that it's coarse, and it's soft. This is the secret of his hair. His hair is white like wool. This is the hair of the Atik. But when discussing the beard, which is a Richain pin, which is the hair of Zerayin pin, the nature of the beard's hair is very coarse. It's actually the exact same hair as the pubic hair. So the same hair that you have in the reproductive organ area is the exact same hair that grows on the face. So the facial hair and the pubic hair are the exact same type of hair. This is the rough, coarse hair of Zerayin pin, and it's completely klipathic. So that is in the 4 brain lobes in the skull, and their illumination enters the 3 cavities from the skull inside the head. All the locks of black hair hang on and cover the ears, which is why we learn that is written Hashem, bend your ear and hear. And so now we're talking about Zerayin pin, who's being identified here as Hashem, because it's written Hashem Hashem there in Shemos. And shortly after that it says Erech Apim Rav Chesed. So there are 2, because the letter Vav in the divine name Yud Kei Vav Kei is also by the name Hashem, which is the reason why we don't call Hashem by name. We don't call Hashem by name because all of the names refer to qualities within Zerayin pin itself. And therefore, the sages say just Yud Kei Vav Kei, that is to say, the worlds and the Sefirot and the Partsufs, etc., as opposed to just Zerayin pin, which is just the letter Vav. From this, we derive that whoever wishes the king to bend his ear to him should curl the hairs of the king's head. So to curl the hairs of the king's head, that means to move the hairs, the judgments, the klipa, away from that place called the ears. That place called the ears, and one of the most important ways is hod. What is hod? It's the emotion body. This teaches us that you must remove the klippa away from the emotion body, because if you don't remove the hairs away from the emotion body, you can't hear the atik, because you're blinded by the klippa, the hairs covering the ears, like a person can't hear anything. It refers to how emotions blind us, and how when we think and act emotionally, we make rash decisions, and we don't operate with the guidance of the atik. That is, concentrate on mitigating the judgments hanging from the hairs of the head on Zaranpin, because all the hairs on Zaranpin's head are judgments and klippa. This is very important because when you read Shara Gilgalim by Chaim Vital, he's going to talk about many different Rabbanan that are found inside of the hairs of Zaranpin. And they are hair black like a raven, from which I hinted was the Erev Rav. And because Zaranpin is the level of Katav, that is to say written, because he is the great of written Torah, we find that these people who are rooted in this place exemplify and personify above all things the written in the Peshat. He should also move the hair away from his ears so they would not obstruct the hearing of prayer, because prayer in Aramaic is sluta, which is a seruf of Atzilus, which means that your emotions should not blind you from the reception of Atzilus, specifically when consulting the level of the written Torah, because Zaranpin, which is the level of the written Torah, invokes an emotional response which blinds a person from the level of Atzilus, that is to say, from hearing the prayer, because prayer hints to Atzilus by the lower interpretations. And so they would not obstruct the hearing of prayer. Then the king will hear whatever he needs to. This teaches us that the king, in example Zaranpin, will hear, the lower king down below of the middle pillar, will hear whatever he needs to hear from the supernal king above, the inspiration, the divine. But only when he moves the hair, meaning he mitigates his own judgments upon specifically the ears, which is to say the emotion body. And if you pay attention to these systems, the Guf, Malkuth, is the physical body, but the physical body is overridden by Yisod, the mental body. And Yisod, the mental body, is overridden by Hod, the emotion body. And so we find that one grade supersedes another grade, and one grade controls the other grade, thus stopping its ability to receive information. For example, the body, even if it's sitting in front of someone and listening with its physical ears, if the mind is not involved or engaged, immediately the mind's wanderings supersedes the physical body's ears hearing, and they don't understand anything. Also with the emotions. If the emotions are overridden, then that overrides the mind's ability to think, which then overrides the body's ability to function. So you find that people who are under emotional distress shut down mentally, and they shut down physically. And this is a key to this concept and idea behind Zaranpin and his hairs. His hairs also hint to the idea of brain, almost like follicles, brain nerves endings that spread throughout the body in a very similar manner. And just how the nervous system moves the body via light signals, this brain, which is the collective identity of the sum of experiences, moves through our forms, and then from our forms into our body. And at the level of Zaranpin, it's divided between 248 and 365. These 248 and 365 thus divide themselves amongst the forms, and the forms then in turn into the physical body and its attributes. And these things are layered upon each other, one into the other, very much similar to how we were describing with the level of the Atik. So consider very carefully the intricacies about the discussion behind the hair of the head of Zaranpin. Consider how his hair is black like a raven. Whenever you're talking about hair is black like a raven, understand it's referring to Zaranpin. When we read Shir HaShirim, it's not talking about Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon. It's talking about the king into whom peace belongs. That is to say that it's talking about Zaranpin. And when it's describing these attributes, it's really describing the attributes of Zaranpin. And this is a very, very deep mystery here. Zaranpin cannot be rejected. It has to be understood and redeemed. Zaranpin is called the firstborn. And so it is written, you must redeem the firstborn. It's not to be rejected. It must be redeemed. We must change the nature. It's not telling you to cut the hair. It's telling you to move the hair from the ears. There's a deep mystery behind this. And there's an even deeper mystery in another place that says, and you'll shave the hair of the beard and remove the hair of the feet. A very wondrous mystery hidden in that pasuk. But nonetheless, this isn't the place for that. So, that concludes this portion. As David HaMelech said, open my eyes and behold the wonders of your Torah. Consider very carefully the nature of the hairs of Zaranpin, these types of interactions. The main takeaways from this is to see how the supernal brain or the collective sum of experiences interact with the forms, which then interact in the body, and how they do so through these hairs, which are these pathways for the relaying of information like a nervous system. And that concludes the lesson, everyone. Shalom, Selah, and Laila Tov.
Shalom. Thank you.